Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Frozen Feet Daily, where I am freezing, and I don't know what Paul's doing. He's probably holding his hands up in the air, trying to get
It
them
is.
warm
It is.
again.
By the way, it is noticeably warmer up where my hands were. But that is not good heat.
Yeah, nobody's
There's no
benefiting
way
from
around
that.
it. It's the Pixel
Nobody's,
2 XL of
nobody's.
heat. I think is what I'm trying to say.
Oh God! But today's show is brought to you by Cloudberry. Protect your data by backing up to your business, to your home cloud, or to your own cloud, not your home cloud, to your own cloud, such as Azure, Amazon, Google Cloud, all that good stuff. Good for ransomware, good for all that stuff. Check them out at cloudberrylab.com/FRD, where they are most likely warmer and less snowed on than I am.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, so, Paul, you're familiar with these desks that
Yep.
I'm
Oh
sitting at
yes.
here.
hmm
Are you familiar with? Would you like to describe to the audience at home what is underneath it, the metal substructure that is holding this together?
Yeah, it's got kind of a steampunk giant metal kind of thing going on. So the two feet, I guess we call them, or stands, are gigantic, heavy. Is it iron or steel? It's
Yeah.
huge, thick metal. And then there's a
Yep.
metal rod that goes between them that is could like you have a rod in your closet, you hang clothes on it. Like you could hang a
Mhm.
Volkswagen on this thing and it wouldn't bend. It's like the thickest, strongest metal I've ever seen.
Yeah, and then on the underside of this wood is some like
Yeah,
angle iron that's kind of holding it together, kind of ties the whole
that's
thing
right.
together. Which
Yep.
I can explicitly confirm as of about 18 minutes ago that if you are under the desk and you stand up and hit the back of your skull on it, you will
Oh.
die. I, yeah, I,
Yep.
yeah, I've got a knot on the back of my cranial. I was just getting some crap that was on the floor under it, just stood up and just whacked it. And I was afraid that when this podcast started, it would actually just be me laying on the ground in a pool of blood.
I I think it's fair to say that both of us have injured ourselves various times because of this desk.
Hmm.
I've not hit my head on the underside of it. I can only imagine what that's like, but I've banged my knees into it many times. I often have bare feet in my house, and so I've kind of walked into the base of it, which is again is
Yeah.
thick, heavy metal. Um, yeah, it's a dangerous. It's just not a normal desk. I don't know what do you what is the original purpose of such a surface? Is it where you disembowel a grizzly bear that you killed with your bare hands? Like what could be the purpose be of such a device? You know?
I don't know. This thing, if there was a meteor falling, like there much was over the state of Michigan last night, I would actually probably feel pretty comfortable hiding under this thing because it's not
Oh
going
yeah,
anywhere.
yeah. Well, it could definitely stop bullets. It is, and because the wood, we should mention the wood itself. People have probably seen pressure treated wood. Um,
Hmm.
this is more like petrified wood. It's almost stone, right? It's so heavy and
Yeah.
thick and strong. It is a strange thing.
Yeah, just don't try to move it with the back of your head. That's today's hot top tip.
I think it's built using Brooklyn Bridge technology. Like it has gigantic bolts that go through the wood and hold the whole thing together. You know, it's
Yeah.
not going anywhere.
Yeah. You want to know a fun fact about the Brooklyn Bridge?
Sure.
So the prototype, which is always good because that's what Cincinnati's good for, is prototyping, is actually here in Cincinnati.
Nice.
It crosses the Ohio River. They built that first and said, "Hey, this works." Nobody died, and then they went and built the Brooklyn one.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah,
okay.
there you go.
Interesting. Interesting.
Also other interesting things. Paul, do you remember a wee little bit of time ago? I want to say I think it was October. We were in New York. It was when we were
hmm
doing like the Thurrott Planet. Was it earlier than New York or October? When was that?
I
But
can't keep
we're
this stuff
yeah.
straight. I have no idea. I went to New York several
When was the
times in the
Surface
fall.
Book 2
So,
announced? It was that event.
oh, okay. And it was October. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And so
Yep.
do you remember I'm just totally getting up on my high horse here. Do you remember Chris Kez actually came and joined us for a meeting?
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Yes, yes. And so for those who aren't familiar, Chris Kez is a premium member, and he's was in the area, and we were talking about premium stuff, and we were having a conversation about super like insider scoopy stuff, and hopefully he remembers. I told him, I said, hey, they're working. Microsoft is working on an Elite V2 controller, but I can't write about it yet because of for some various reasons. And so, Paul, what leaked yesterday?
The new second generation version of the Xbox Elite controller, which, by the way,
There you
desperately
go.
needed.
Yep. And so this is as soon as the images showed up online, I was able to verify that yes, they are 100% accurate and genuine. And so, kind of the big things to note here is that I don't have mine out. Is that there's going to be a pretty significant change to the carrying case. If you remember that it comes in this nice kind of like hard shell case. And so the current iteration of it, that is actually a charging base for the controller. So when you're done playing, you just kind of put it back in there. It's going to charge via USB Type C, and that is just kind of a nice way to keep it always topped up. You can see here that this person removed the thumb cap. It's a little hard to see in this image, but the thumb base right now, which is currently kind of like a matte color, is now becoming silver. And then you can see there's a screw on here, and I believe what this is like actually a torsion screw. Allows you to change how kind of rigid it is to move those thumbsticks. And then there's a couple other aesthetic refinements. You can see some lighting right there. There's going to be, I believe, a third trigger stop as well. But this is all very much happening. This product has been in development for a while. I actually thought they might release it last E3, but I think they held off because they had the Scorpio come out this year, and it's like, it's not
They
overwhelming.
should have put it out with the Scorpio, though. They really should have.
Yeah.
Just so
But I think
people
that they were
understand what
looking-
the difference is.
Yeah.
The original Elite controller is based on the previous generation controller, which I think was called the Xbox One wireless controller or whatever. And now the new version for some reason is called the Xbox wireless controller. But there's two differences. One is the support for third-party microphones, right? So it just has a microphone jack on the bottom of it, and you can plug in any microphone. That's key, especially with Kinect going away for voice control. But the other one is Bluetooth support, and obviously, if you could somehow have a PC with a Xbox controller in it, like your Surface Book 2, that's better. But most PCs don't have that, and so it's a way to connect your Xbox controller to a PC without needing a dongle. So it's just key. And so the Xbox Elite controller, as it stands today, is an excellent controller, but man, is this thing overdue for replacement.
Yeah. And so I would expect that it should be announced at E3 this year. Availability is still a little fuzzy. I would have expected to keep roughly the same price point as well. At least that's what I'm hearing. And last time they announced this thing, I think it came announced at E3 and wasn't available until about the holiday shopping season. So I hope they don't do that again, but they very well might. Yeah.
I know. I want this thing like in February. Mine, like yours, is kind of falling apart. I mean, I beat the thing to death, and it has fallen off my desk so many times. And by the way, one of the funny ways in which an Xbox controller can fall off your desk, because it isn't just about being clumsy, is a game will end, and I'll get up to go to the bathroom or do whatever it is, and this is a multiplayer game. So I might be in the final kill cam thing, either because I was the guy who got the last kill, or maybe I got killed as the last kill. And when that happens, your Xbox controller vibrates. And so it actually vibrates like a crab and falls off the desk. So like I walk away and I hear the thing crash. And then of course with the Elite controller, the button, the D-pad tops, the thumbstick tops, and various other parts can all come off. And I can assure you when it hits the ground, they all come flying off. So you have a couple of minutes where you're crawling around on the floor trying to find all the little bits so you can put it back together. It's good stuff.
Yeah. So this will be interesting. Hopefully, I hope that it comes out in different colors too, because the Xbox Design Lab, I actually really like that, and I want to build a controller using it. But I don't know. I'm not going to build like the peasant level controller now that I've used Elite. So.
Yeah, remember, when the Xbox One X came out, one of my few complaints about the console was that it just came with a standard controller. I sort of feel like when you pay $500 for a console, you should get a nicer controller. The interesting thing is there are controllers that sit halfway between the Elite controller and the normal controller. I don't know that they're available through the Design Labs. I guess they're not, but they have some that have like a little bit more padding, a little bit more whatever. They're usually tied to like a game or something. They have a kind of a unique design, but I mean, those are viable and they're second generation or whatever. So they have the new technology built in, but I want an Elite controller. I don't have to design it. I mean, I will if I have to, but I just want a new one. Mine is destroyed.
Yep. One other thing here, kind of moving on here. This is more of just a note of frustration that I actually do have a solution. Somebody help me out here. So we use OneNote. I'm staring at it right now, and I actually prefer the Store app mostly because it just kind of updates and whatever. It's fine. The problem is that I also have Office installed, which means that OneNote 2016 is also installed. And so
Yep.
how I've launched 99.9% of apps on my PC, I hit the Windows button, type the name, and I hit enter. And the problem I run into
So,
is that
yeah.
you never know what you're going to get, because sometimes it's the Store app, sometimes it's 2016. And so I find it's like, all right, how do I uninstall 2016 Office or OneNote
Yep.
2016? And it turns out you can't, because why?
Two things to this. The first is that technically the way it's supposed to work, and it's Windows, so it makes sense that this wouldn't work, is once you launch one of those two apps by typing one or whatever you're typing, it should be that at the top of the list going forward, right? So the more you use it, it should make its way to the top. That my experience is that doesn't always work. The other one is, it's funny, you're hitting on a problem that's been a big problem for people for some reason, and in your case, I'd say it's more of a problem, which is that ever since Office 365 has been a thing, Microsoft has made an installer for the suite available via the web, and that installer does not give you the option to go in and check off the apps you want and the ones you don't want, like we used to be able to do. And this is a perennial question I get from readers. How can I not? I don't want Publisher. I don't want Access or whatever the apps are. So I've gone to Microsoft many times and I've asked them this question, and over the years the answer has evolved. I mean, lately they've been saying actually they are planning to offer some way to make that happen, yada yada yada. And I have to think that the way they're going to do it is by making Office available from the store, right? Which is something you get now with Surface Laptop and some Windows 10s machines, where you do install something called Office. It's like Office 365 Home or Personal, but those things all come down individually, and it seems like you should be able to, in that system, uninstall one app discreetly at a time. But you can't. Yes, you're right. You can't do it from the traditional desktop installer. It's I would say your concern is more legitimate. One of the things with Office 2016, let's say, is that people think they're going to save like disk space or something by not installing the apps they don't use. That's not really true. The Office apps themselves don't take up a lot of space. Most of the space is the shared code, which is common to all of the apps. So by uninstalling like Publisher, you're not saving disk space. But the thing you're describing is Windows 10 comes with OneNote, the Store version. So there are always going to be two versions of OneNote on there if you install Office. And that's actually a legitimate concern, I would say. I think the disk savings thing is kind of silly, but I agree. Being able to remove that would be good.
Yeah, I mean it's
it's
20. I was going to say 2017, but it's actually 2018, and you can't individually manage apps on your own PC. The honest workaround here, and somebody suggested this, and I apologize because I can't remember who it was. They said just delete the shortcut, and then it won't ever show up in search. And so that's what I did.
Oh yeah, and then okay. So it's funny, like in the modern Start menu, that you can't right-click on anything and go find something. Like you have to know where the folder is, right? The Start menu probably has two folders, right? One under your user and one under all users. I can't remember exactly how it works because nobody does this anymore, but. Yeah, so you had to go find the shortcut. That's goofy. Oh boy, but at least it works.
Yeah. This is
Well, it's just something you have to manually do on every PC. It's stupid.
Yeah, it's about effective as putting your space heaters on your ceiling.
Remind me, does heat rise or fall?
Well, if you get enough of it, it will technically fall eventually.
Not in my experience. There are literally like strata of heat. Like it goes down in temperature as you go from the ceiling to the floor. Like you can feel the different levels. It's a good system.
Yeah, you're gonna run into an interesting scenario. We're gonna be the first house that has mold growing in the top corners of the house rather than the bottom corners, because that's where the warm.
I'm also going to do the next podcast by standing on my head so that my feet will be warm.
Call that the Australia edition.
Yep.
Speaking of Australia, by the way, if you are wanting to purchase a Surface Book 2 of the 15-inch variety, it is now rolling out, or at least pre-orders are opening up for a bunch of new countries, including the UK, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Poland, Sweden, and
Wow.
Switzerland are the lucky winners this time around. Ugh. Oof.
Yeah, this is a question I'd gotten a couple of weeks ago. Why is Surface Book 2 not available? I think it was in Canada. It wasn't even, I think it was just US only originally. And I asked, and at the time there was kind of a no comment. But as you know, we talked to a guy from Microsoft at CES, and he was like, "Oh yeah, obviously it's, you know,
Yeah.
this is how we do things." So not that much long. We probably had this conversation almost exactly a week ago, so it didn't take too long. So that's fine.
Yes. Actually, there's even more good news now that I'm reading the full post. They're also bringing the 15-inch and the 13-inch. So these countries did not have any Surface Book 2 over the next 2 months, which
Yeah.
includes Bahrain, China, Hong Kong, India, Italy, Korea, Kuwait, Malaysia, Oman, Portugal, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Spain, Taiwan, Thailand, and the UAE. So if you're in any one of
Oh,
those countries named, you will soon have both versions of the Surface Book 2 in your neck of the woods.
yeah. And I'm sure now that they're shipping it in such volume, it will be much less expensive. Did I just hear a cricket?
So it's interesting you bring that up. I was looking at it's like, you know what, the Surface Studio's been out for what, over a year now, right? Over a
Yep.
little over a
Yep.
year. Still running a 6th generation core,
Hmm.
whatever, i7 or whatever you want to spec it out at, and still running at the same MSRP of all the way up to what, like $4,200.
Yeah. 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 That's an
Yeah,
expensive computer.
it's an expensive old infrastructure. I mean, it's still running a GTX like 965,
I know.
and they're not.
That's
Yeah.
desperate in need of a new part. Yeah.
Yeah, they either need to. Well, that particular model needs a price cut. It would be great if they actually just refresh it. I don't think they need to change the design or anything like that, but just slap
Nope.
some new chips in there. That's all they got to do.
Exactly. That's exactly right. There's no reason to change the hardware at all. Well, you could make the argument for a USB-C Thunderbolt 3 as always, but whatever. I would, just like with Surface Book, I accept it's fine to keep the design. Yeah,
Mhm.
upgrade the internals. Absolutely.
Yep. Speaking of random issues, and then we'll kind of wrap it here. So, new computers working, running great. There's something it's a little peculiar about it, and I think it's the install of Windows. I'm not sure because I've been running benchmarks and stress testing and all that stuff. It's all coming back right in line with what other people have, but every once in a while it gets a little sluggish. I think is the best
Interesting.
way to describe it. And
Right.
and this is tied to another issue where it worked a couple times. I can't actually shut the machine down. This is if you go
Interesting.
power, if you go start, hit the power button, hit shutdown, it like turns
Yeah.
everything sort of off, but then it just comes right back on. Now I have had it properly shut down a couple times, but
Yeah.
I don't understand what is going on here.
You built this yourself, right? 100%.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if there isn't a wiring mistake, maybe a wire to the
So
wrong lead kind of thing.
I was thinking that too, but all the buttons work as expected.
Yeah, but
I mean,
I used to have an older HP computer that you would choose shutdown and it would just restart. And that was never ideal. I mean, in that case, I think something was wrong with it. I think, in fact, it was a laptop. So, whatever. But yeah, I'd go back and look at everything. I would just,
yeah,
compare
there's the only thing I
the
can think of
instructions
is
to what
that
you did, that kind of thing.
there's one. It's not like a. I guess maybe you consider a jumper where you like plug in like all the little wires for the front panel, and you can. I think I
Yeah.
can just take that off and then boot it. Actually, there's a button on the motherboard,
Okay.
and try it that way and see if that's it. But that's
I
really
would play
been the
with it.
only
I assume
hiccup.
it's still kind of open
Yeah.
still. You haven't sealed it up
Yeah.
or
Oh yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I'm actually
Yeah.
waiting on another fan extension, and then I probably won't close her up until maybe Friday at the earliest. So.
Yeah. I would just go over everything again.
Yep. If anybody else has any ideas, I would love to hear it. It's just odd because it did shut down properly at one point, but I don't know. That's kind of been the only kind of hiccup. But
Right. Oh, there's
anyways.
that sound. Remember I mentioned the weird background? It sounds like
Oh
the
yeah.
ocean a little bit. I feel like I'm doing meditation.
Oh wait, you hear it coming from my end?
Well, I don't know where it's coming from. It's just in my ears. It's like
I can
a
almost
hiss
guarantee
or
that is
a
my end. If you,
okay.
yeah,
Like,
I have a pretty technical term for what that is called. It's called my
is it a
furnace
fan?
turning on.
Oh, are you serious? That's so funny.
Yeah,
It's almost like a white noise sound. It's
yeah.
just
Well,
like it's in the audio stream or whatever.
yes, it's quite literally air being blown. I mean, it's probably 20 feet from here, but like I can
Yeah,
see my
yeah.
furnace, and it just turned on because it is
Huh.
12 degrees outside.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, all right, you got anything else for today, Paul? Before we
Just one quick note. I'm going to be driving to Boston tomorrow. And I don't know when I'm coming home because actually football is on Sunday, and now I'm thinking maybe I'll come home later. But anyway, as far as tomorrow goes, I don't yet know when I'm going to go. I guess you could make a case for going early. You could also make a case for going late. So I'll be in touch with you about that. But I think the worst case scenario is I'll be driving when we're supposed to record this podcast, in which case I'll just pull over and do it on my phone. But I'll let you know in the morning or whatever. We'll see how things go.
sounds good. Sounds good. All right, folks, we are going to wrap it up. There we go. Wrap it up here today. Today's show is brought to you by Cloudberry. Protect your data by backing up your home or business to your own cloud storage like Azure, Amazon, Google, and all that good stuff. Check them out at cloudberrylab.com/FRD. And we'll be back at some point tomorrow. And Paul will be maybe in the passenger seat. We'll see. Have yourselves a good one.